Hey everyone, welcome to the Discover Virginia podcast. I'm Joseph Trahan, your host for the #1 video podcast in Virginia, where we explore the rich history, vibrant culture, and iconic businesses that make our Commonwealth truly special and worth talking about. So get ready as together we discover Virginia. Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm thrilled to be sitting with Blake Stevens, an Allstate elite agent and owner of his own insurance agency here in Virginia. Blake's been in the game for 6 years and is not just focused on day-to-day of running a business, but also of talking business and hanging out with us at the Discover Virginia podcast, creating unique opportunities to serve not only his clients, but innovative ways to connect with them on a topic that is, relatively boring. Blake, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for making insurance fun again for us.
I don't know if I'm doing that. Don't put too much pressure on me. That's a tall order, man.
We're going to have fun either way. So I'd love to get things kicked off by talking a little bit about your personal journey. How did you find yourself in the insurance world? And also tell me about this Chickfila grand opening in Manhattan, because I just checking out your bio before I totally missed it. Let's start there.
Yeah. So, I grew up in Indiana. Went to college in Indiana. Met my wife there. We graduated from college. Got married 2 weeks later, and then moved to Virginia Beach 2 weeks after that.
Good. That's within a month.
I'm sorry, 2 months after that. Sorry.
Yeah. Wow. That's still quick. It's so a couple months, and you're totally changed your whole life.
Yeah. I only knew one person in Virginia area, is somebody that graduated from our college, Indiana Wesleyan University. She moved out here a year before us, and that was the only contact that we had. And we were just kind of acquaintances, never really hung out much, but that was our only contact here in Virginia. But I grew up, my dad was an executive at a grocery store called Marsh Supermarkets in Indiana, and he was part of the team, or then part of the grocery store chain that brought the scanning system to the world. So the barcode system. Yeah. Okay. So he's got a cool story just in and of itself for all the things that he did for that. But business was always something that we talked about around the kitchen table, finances, loans, how interest rates. I was exposed to all of that. Everybody says you don't talk about money, and my family seemed to only talk about money around the kitchen table. Yeah. So I got introduced to that at a very early age, and so I had a drive to be in business from a very early age. So even part of my bio I didn't mention is I was part of a coffee shop in college. I started a moving company in college with a buddy of mine.
Was it College Hunks?
It was not College Hunks, no. We called it University Storage, but we just moved folks out of their dorm room, stored their stuff, and delivered it to their new dorm room the next year. So we did that, and then I got graduated, and I was pretty blessed in Indiana. I had a lot of contacts, but then my wife got accepted to a graduate program in Virginia at Regent University, and
shout out to Regent.
That's what brought us out this way, and with the expectation that we would move back to Indiana after that graduation of her graduate program. But then you spend 5 years next to the ocean instead of in cornfields, and you kind of get adapted to it. And so it was a bit better situation, I thought, out here.
Absolutely. And I apologize, I don't know the mascot of Indiana Wesleyan University. What is that?
The Wildcats.
The Wildcats. Shout out to the Wildcats as well. So cornfields or beach, you guys kind of decided to stay put with the beach.
Yeah, we chose the ocean, and didn't look back. So we did that, and when we moved out here, didn't have anything. So, as Will Ferrell says, I went to Enterprise Rent-A-Car because they give you the tools you need to be your own boss. So I worked with Enterprise for a few years, met along that journey a gentleman named John Fagan. And John, who is currently an Allstate agent as well, is the one who ultimately got me into Allstate to do the insurance thing. But
very cool. So I know business was prevalent amongst the kitchen table, so to speak. So average Sunday afternoon, you guys are talking, car loans and interest rates. What does that dichotomy look like? Because I came from a family and upbringing of there wasn't much money to talk about. It was here's our coin jar, and we'll go to Disney one day.
Right.
What was it like talking about money, and how did that shape your your lens when it came to the business world after you graduated?
Well, to me, it was just normal, right? Like I guess I knew my friends didn't do it, but I just thought that my friends were weird. I didn't think I
Sure.
was the one who was weird.
Yeah.
So to me, it was a normal experience to talk about business and talk about human resources and to talk about dad's going on a business trip. What's dad talking about? Where's he going? What's he doing? Who's he talking to?
Sure.
And oftentimes it was really big companies like Kraft and GE and
Yeah,
Johnson
that's
and
huge.
Johnson.
I mean, the origin story of the barcode alone is
Yes.
phenomenal and such an innovative change to the grocery chain, dichotomy as well. I mean, that reshaped the entire industry as a
For
whole.
sure.
So
It reshaped everything.
yeah,
My 6-year-old's got a cash register for Christmas 2 years ago or a year ago, and she just runs something across it. I mean, it was just like a play little toy thing. She just runs something across it, and she verbally said, "Boop," and I just like sat there and looked at that, and I was like, "Man, you have no idea what that was, because that's not what typically happened. That's
Yeah.
not that wasn't normal when Dad started in the grocery business." So.
very fascinating. So
Yeah.
like, do you and your family, I know your kids are still younger, but do you have the plan to like talk about money more openly now, or do you and your wife have a different lens as far as upbringing and
Yeah,
and
we definitely
including
have a
that?
different lens for sure. Yeah, she did not come from a family where that was spoken about a lot. Much like everybody else. Again, I
Sure,
realized later on in life I was the weird one. So that was an interesting. It's been interesting for us to move through life together. Now I have the best wife in the world, and she's very open and has taught me a lot. And I think as we have grown older, we've grown closer, and it's just been an amazing partnership, really. But trying to figure out, how do we have those conversations? How do we make it make sense for both of us, where we're both kind of satisfied with the conversation? Just a constant thing that we're working through.
Yeah, and money is one of those things in relationships that can be a real barrier to,
For sure.
intimacy, and also a real barrier to like just continuing to stay and be friends, and we see that, throughout our culture as well.
Yeah.
And and I want to as we steer towards your business as well, just the importance of having business like conversations in a way that doesn't have to be spreadsheets and systems,
Right.
although that is primarily business. But
Right.
it goes back to I think the root of a show like this, Discover Virginia, where it's like, how do we create more opportunities for connection? How do we make our city a more fun place to live in and to be a part of what our friends are doing in a creative way, right? Because I'm sure as I've had conversations with friends that I may have a business problem or a barrier that I'm trying to get through, and I think we were meeting last week and we were just talking business solutions, right?
Right.
Which is it's a weird thing to talk about too as well. But
Yeah, right. I mean, it's not
not
normal,
normal.
but it's something that I love to do, and I actually get
Yeah.
together with friends who own other
Yeah.
businesses, and we just talk about our businesses. And I think a lot of people would probably look at that and say, "That's a huge
Yeah.
waste of time," or "I don't get it," or "I don't understand it." But
So if that's not your cup of tea, still
Yeah.
continue to listen, but you might enjoy another episode. Blake, you mentioned being in the business for 6 years for Allstate, agency owner. What was the transition like for you going from enterprise, rent-a-car to then insurance?
well, it was Enterprise Rent-A-Car to Chick-fil-A, and
Sorry.
and then to insurance. But yes,
Gotcha.
yeah.
So from let's do Chick-fil-A and then
Okay.
transition how that happened. So Chick-fil-A,
Chick-fil-A,
my pleasure.
my pleasure. Yeah. So
Connect with your eyes.
let's use some elevated language here,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
because you also had some experience at Chick-fil-A.
At Chick-fil-A 6 years, yeah.
Yeah.
I had a goal. My goal is to work at every single type of Chick-fil-A. So double drive-through, mall, free standard, one I was weird. A certain age.
Wow.
I worked every position, whether the kitchen liked it or not. I asserted myself there because I was like, I need to know how this works,
Yeah.
right? So you got an opportunity to go do
Mm-hmm.
the Chick-fil-A grand opening in Manhattan,
Yes,
which is the 5-story Chick-fil-A.
that's right.
Is that
yeah.
the tallest Chick-fil-A?
I believe, unless they've built another one since
Blake
then.
Stevens worked at the tallest Chick-fil-A.
Well.
So what was that like? Was there like a bank like with the elevator chutes? Was it like multiple, everyone was wearing a headset or walkie-talkies because you were so far apart? What was that like?
No, so we had a prep kitchen on the bottom floor and kind of in the basement area, which was you walk in on basically floor 2, right?
Okay.
So then downstairs there's a prep kitchen, and that's where our freezers were, and we had some dry storage and trash stuff down there.
So the basement,
yeah. So that was where it was. And you walk in, you're on basically floor 2, but ground floor.
Yeah.
That is where the line was, and the hot kitchen was behind it. So that's where we had the combines and making all the chicken and prepping all the chicken and doing all those things. Our thaw cabinets were there.
Yeah.
Breading stations, all that stuff was in that floor. And then floors 3 and 4 were seating. So just, regular restaurant seating. So you had to walk in, order, and then go upstairs. There was an elevator that went to there are actually 2 elevators in the building. There's one elevator that just went from the between the 2 kitchens, and then the elevator that went to customer seating areas. And then there's a rooftop deck that had views of the World Trade Center.
Wow.
And it was really cool.
Now I'm going to have to add that Chick-fil-A to my list. I have to brush off my ServSafe certification and try again. Wow, that's incredible.
Actually, and it's probably unique in the fact that, well, it's not because it's New York City, so the other ones there are similar to this, but there's no drive-through at that location.
Right,
so
because it's you.
I guess
you walk in.
I guess mall locations would be the same, but yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, a mall in New York City is,
Yeah.
They closed the one at the mall, so that says anything.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tony, for all your encouragement. That's
Yeah.
Chick-fil-A. Yeah. All right, so transitioning from Chick-fil-A to agency owner. So I know you mentioned you had a friend who was doing insurance.
Yeah. I had a lot of influences actually in insurance. I had a buddy in college, and his now wife's father was into it, and so through all college he was chirping at me, Blake, you need to do this, you need to do this, you need to do this.
Yeah.
And so
what did dad think? Like, because I don't like.
My dad?
I didn't. Yeah, your dad who's like talking barcodes and business. Like, was that like the best business decision in his input? Like, because I think of insurance as being like, maybe not the most lucrative position, or is it? I don't know.
Well, I mean, you do fine with it, but it's it is more about helping people and doing that thing. Nobody's. I'm not buying a house in Malibu anytime soon. Sure.
On the record.
Yeah, yeah, but the I mean, I think my parents are very proud of me. They're proud of what I've been able to accomplish, and that given me unwavering support through the whole through my whole journey, and I'm super appreciative of that.
And
I tell my dad frequently that I am only where I am because he allowed me to stand on his shoulders. I mean, his upbringing is a whole nother story, and he had a really rough way to go, and he made it so that I didn't. And because of him and my mom's efforts in that, I feel like that's what has given me the opportunity to excel in my different endeavors.
I love that. And you mentioned something, and I wanted to intentionally point it out. Like, it wasn't just for the money, although that is nice. You wanted to help people. So that's where I'd love to steer this conversation next, because owning a business in the insurance field is especially competitive, right? I mean, it's no easy task, but you seem to have found a groove, which is awesome for you. So I'd love to talk about your agency, how it operates in Virginia, and then what sets you apart from others, because it's one thing to say you want to help people, right? But it's another thing to do it, and you are actively doing that as well. So I'd love to toot your horn and also hear what that looks like. Yeah.
So insurance is unique, right? Because it's really nice to sell something that the government makes you buy.
It is a prerequisite, right?
You have to buy insurance. But what that means is that there's a lot of competition in the space, and a lot of the motivations behind insurance are very much price driven. Who's the cheapest, and I'm going to go there. But you can't really make those determinations solely based off of price, because if I told you, hey, I'll give you free insurance for life, but I promise you I'm never going to pay a claim that you have, you probably wouldn't buy it. So at some point there's you say, okay, well, I'd like to pay a little bit of money then so that you pay my claim. Yeah. So at some point there's that balance that you have to find. And what I find is that in all my businesses too, at Enterprise, at Chick-fil-A, at Allstate, it's always about customer service. And Enterprise ingrained that in me more than anybody else ever has or probably ever will.
Yeah.
But to me, it's all about customer service. So when our phones ring, we answer them. When we get an email, we reply to it. It's not going out into the ether. When customers, we have a physical location, customers can walk in. They're going to find a licensed individual that can help them with their problem right then and there. It's not calling in, going through a number system. Give me, we know our customers.
Yeah, it's not a 1-800
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And so that allows us to do a lot of different things. Like, when customers are going through tough times, we have ways to help and support them. When customers are, inevitably you deal with the passing of customers, but and that can be difficult. But one thing I tell all my customers is, hey, look, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, I know that you just lost your husband, your wife, your spouse. I know that right now you've got a lot of stuff to do, and you might not have the fax machines or the copiers or the printing capabilities that a normal office has. Please feel free to come in my office and use those things. And I think it's those small, and that costs me nothing, and I love to do that for customers, and people take you up on it. But things like that are things that you can do that allow that give an extra level of service to the customer to let them know that you do care about them, and you're not just there to collect the premium.
Especially in a crowded field as well. I personally, I'm licensed as a realtor, and I got 9,999 problems. Other real estate agents, but customer service is not one of those problems, because like platforms like these where we get to talk directly to consumers, whether they get, just a clip, a short online, or the full interview, we have those opportunities. And so you've dedicated, to work within the Allstate, correct?
Right.
Within Allstate as an agency owner, focusing on home, auto, and life insurance, and a few others as well, but I'll point those out as well, because cross-selling creates a huge opportunity for business, but also convenience for a customer.
Right.
I'm curious, in addition to your office space and your team that you've hired to facilitate those needs, how else do you go about educating your clients on the insurance needs and guiding them towards the right coverage?
It's funny that you said it. Just yesterday, I had a mother bring her son into the agency because he had moved out on his own. He needed to get his own policy. Yeah. And so we have a simple process where we just pull them off and start a new policy for son or daughter. But I always take a little time to explain what is happening to the son or daughter. Yeah. Because when you rattle off numbers like, all right, your insurance coverage is 100, 300, 100, and you have $50 deductibles, and you got towing and rental. Do you have any questions? They're going to say, no. Okay, your premium's $100 a month or whatever it comes out to.
Yeah.
And they're going to write the check or give you the account and routing numbers and move on. But really, you've just spoken a different language to them that they don't know. And so I always ask for permission, but I say, hey, do you at the risk of putting you to sleep, do you mind if I explain this to you real quick, just so you know what you're getting and what you're paying for here? Because I want you to know that, you're not always going to want this exact coverage. You might have a 1990 Geo Metro or whatever, I don't know, Saturn View, I don't know, whatever the car make model would be. And you might not need the same coverage on that you're going to need in 10 years when you're going to buy your first new car. And so I want to educate you now on maybe what those differences might look like. And I'd be happy to do it again in 10 years when you come back and need that. And hopefully I'll be the guy that can do that again in 10 years for you.
Absolutely, because like life, insurance changes, and
sure.
Life events require different types of insurance coverages as well. And you've built a solid team that focuses on customer service and follow-up. Can you talk a bit about how your team functions day to day? Yes, I'm sorry to bum you guys out. Blake doesn't take every phone call because he's doing podcasts and managing a business, right? But you've built a system with team members who are, I think you mentioned, I don't know, I'll shout out to your top all-stars, maybe a little bit more and well-versed and equipped than you in some regards.
For sure.
To facilitate clients' needs. What is your approach to customer engagement for your team aspect, and what can folks expect when they engage with you or your team members?
So I have a saying, and it actually comes from Enterprise, that problems don't age well. So if there's a problem, we address it head on. And that is the main thing for me, is to not run and hide from a problem. We want to make sure that we address those head on. And so I treat everything with that lens, is that if we can kind of connect that, then I think we've done a good job for the day in taking care of our customers. But in insurance, there's two basic kind of silos, if you will. There's sales, which is, I'd like to write you a new policy. And there's service, which is Mr. and Mrs. Customer calls in to, change a car out or add a driver or do whatever. So I have two distinct silos in my organization where I have a sales team and I have a service team. And I try my best to keep those separate. Now, inevitably, my service team is going to be tied up with something, out to lunch, out for the day, whatever. And somebody from my sales team is going to have to do those endorsements to the policy, which they can do, and they're fully equipped to do that. But just for a streamlining purpose, from a business standpoint, I'd prefer to keep it as separate as possible, just so I can have one team focusing on this sales, new business acquisition, and the other team focusing on the service side of things, which we get a lot of service calls every single day.
Yeah, absolutely. Electricity goes out, right? And maybe you have some damage to a water heater, and now you need a water heater replacement, right? That's an important call to take, and does not age well if you continue to delay. Yeah. So on the business systems side, I want to pause here and talk about cold calling, live leads, and PPC ads. And for our business owners out there, like ourselves, who have maybe struggled with, how does this balance? How do you remain competitive? Because it's a necessary thing, right? Mm-hmm. Insurance. One day buying a home for my future clients out there, it's necessary. But how do we continue to, remain in the conversation without being, a pest and to be a resource? Because I think there may be a stigma out there for our naysayers who may say, "Oh, insurance, real estate agents, they just want to sell you," right?
Oh,
so
yeah.
How do you balance that?
That's a huge stigma that
building a business and
that I'm super sensitive to, and I try to avoid being that guy at all costs, because I don't want to be there. I want to be there for the people in my life who need help, need advice, need somebody to lean on. I have several friends who are insured with me. I have a lot more friends who are not, but who call me constantly about what's happening with their policy and what can they do to fix this, or how can they help that, or things of that nature. And I have a friend that was just at my place one night hanging out and was telling me about this insurance claim that he was going through. And I said, hey man, you might want to actually ask them about, X, Y, or Z, because you're actually entitled to more money from that. And they're probably not going to tell you about it, but you need to ask your insurance carrier about that. And then, I don't know, a month later, he comes back and he was like, "Blake, they gave me an extra $800 just because I asked about it." And I said, "Yeah, that's depreciated value is a real thing, man." So
yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I have some situations like that where I'm just happy to help, and hopefully, in doing that, obviously, I can't say it's 100%. Ambivalent my attitude towards that. Yeah. I would like for them to say, "Hey, man, you helped me save $800 on that deal. I really appreciate that. Without your advice, I'd be up the creek, man. Maybe you can insure me." But I don't think people have that same mindset that maybe you or I do, where, I meet somebody, I want to help support them, and I realize that, I got a buddy that owns a termite and pest company. So I signed up for pest and termite services with him.
Shout out to Talent Termite.
Shout out to Talent Termite. And Nathan Bullock.
Yeah.
So there's things like that I'm very cognizant of, and I just don't think the rest of the world necessarily is. They don't look at that as being supportive. They think, I think, again, I'm just a weird one because I grew up in that business aspect.
Absolutely, and I'll say, just to kind of, as we cap up this part of the conversation, insurance is one of those things where you want to shop before you actually need it, because you can ask those questions and kind of gauge those scenarios. I do the same with real estate. When you are looking to buy or sell, just being able, those first 6 months of waiting and figuring out okay, what would it look like to sell, or what would it look like to buy, and all the variables. I think it's so important to have these conversations ahead of time. One, because with us, there's no pressure, right? You
Right.
get the guide, you get the resource. Shout out to our free relocation guide down in the comment section below. Check it out if you're looking to make a move to Virginia Beach or the surrounding area. But with all that said, like, you know, like if people like think or are able to plan a little bit more ahead of time when the stuff does, quote, hit the fan or break, there's a little bit better understanding there. I'm curious for you, like, how do you go about like having those conversations with folks in a way that is helpful and beneficial while still also protecting your business resources? Because at the end of the day, if you just offered 1,000 free pieces of advice 1,000 times and, you know, you get zero business, then you kind of run out of resources, right?
I would honestly disagree with that. I am more than willing to offer 1,000 free pieces of advice 1,000 times and 1,000 times and 1,000 times again, because I feel like building that value to somebody it will eventually come back tenfold to me.
Blake Stevens, everyone. Blake Stevens, everyone. Yep.
Thank
Thank you. Yeah, because because that's something that I wanted to clarify with you is like, even if you didn't do it, even if you didn't get paid, right? It's like, no, the heart of you and the heart of your business is customer service and community, which is a big part of this show, by the way, too, because I love to talk about, you know, local businesses and how we impact the community, because that is a representation of how we should live and take care of other business owners and other community members as well.
Yeah.
So I'd love to see if you don't mind talking a bit about the role you see your agency playing in the broader Virginia community with this philosophy that you have of customer service first and providing value. And then, of course, you are licensed in Virginia and North Carolina. So I'm curious to see like what that difference looks like, what the dichotomy looks like, if that's okay.
For sure. The difference between Virginia and North Carolina is vast because
Night and day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it the same way for real estate?
Yeah, absolutely.
Which is crazy, right? Because you're just insuring a car, you're just buying a house. I mean, I say just, but it seems like, you know, the line between Chesapeake and Moyock
it's an hour, it's 30-minute drive.
yeah.
Like, why is this changed so much? It's huge,
Right.
huge. Yeah.
Right, but you have to be completely recalibrated to do business in that state, and it is an interesting dichotomy, and honestly, it's kind of tough because, you know, in my world, everything is different in those two things. So you just have to have completely different conversations with people in North Carolina than you do in Virginia because the laws are different, and therefore the insurance coverage is different, and the things that insurance will pay for is different, and you just have to be up to snuff on all of that. I don't know how there are agents out there that have all 50 states. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, yeah. And for you, you know, the role that your team plays is being educated in both of those fields, providing service for both of those communities, and we appreciate you for that. Blake, we are almost at time. I want to definitely cover some rapid fire questions for you, but I'd love to, as we wrap up this community section, what does the future of your agency look like? What can folks be on the lookout for when it comes to the different services you offer? Will they see you at a drive-through offering free quotes? I know we joked about that. What can folks expect?
Well, you did ask me that question earlier. I think I answered a different one instead of the one you asked, but
that's okay.
But yeah, I mean, so the question you asked earlier was about PPC and acquisition, basically, and the cost associated with that. So you do have to be creative and find different ways to get that quote, because in my world, it's all about can I quote you? And inevitably, I'm going to be right for some. I'm not going to be right for others right now. But my ideal hope is that then, you know, in a year, maybe I can circle back and try again. But, you know, you tell me no, tell me no, and we move on. But yeah, I did some fun things, like I set up at a car wash, and when the line's wrapped around the building, I just tell people, hey, I'll pay for your car wash if you know, we can do a quote.
That's so fun.
And so you know, and you know,
does a quote cost any money to them, to the consumer?
No, quotes are totally free. Yeah,
Small hit on credit.
Anybody can. Not even that. Only if you authorize it to.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, as long as you know, the only thing that's really going to factor is, you know, your honesty to whether or not you have any accidents, any tickets. And oftentimes people do legitimately forget, oh yeah, I did have that ticket 3 years ago, and so then that doesn't pop up, and it makes everything different when the credit is run or the reports are run. So that is a you know, obviously that's a bummer when that happens. They're like, no, I haven't had any accidents or tickets. I'm like, oh yeah, we got this great rate for you.
That one time in Louisiana or Northern Virginia or whatever. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, they got me.
Right. Yeah.
So, what does the future of your agency look like?
So
what
now,
can folks expect, and where can they go to learn more about you?
Yeah. So ideally, I'd like to obviously grow. I think in insurance, you can do that a couple of ways. You can spend a lot of money on marketing, or you can put yourself in a position to acquire more agencies. And I think that's where I'd like to be, by the end of this year. So hopefully, I'll be in a position where I can purchase another agency that's already got a brick and mortar somewhere else, or maybe in the same basic geographic region as where I'm at now, and kind of keep rocking and rolling on that. And then just growing and developing people. That's another thing that's hugely important to me.
Yeah.
Is that I hope in 10 years, the people that I'm working with right now are not the people that I'm working with in 10 years, because I hope each of them have their own agency somewhere as well. And that's what my goal is for my team, is to get them to a point where I can launch them into their own career, so that they can be sitting on this podcast someday.
Yeah. Blake, thank you so much. Got some rapid fire questions to wrap up today's conversation. Are you ready?
I think so.
All right, first one. What's your go-to pre-meeting ritual to get in the zone? Maybe to close a sale or to handle a difficult, maybe flood claim or something.
Man, I think music is a hype for me, so I got
Eye of the Tiger?
Yeah, Eye of the Tiger. Yeah, we'll go with Eye of the Tiger. Yeah.
Favorite place to grab a bite to eat here in the Virginia Beach area? Because I know you have a town. You have a Gloucester office, but you also work in Virginia Beach as well.
Tequila, Jalisco, formerly known as the Landing Zone on.
Ooh.
Yeah, right across the street from Trashmore on Independence and Edwin area.
Okay.
Yeah. I love that place.
So one more time.
Tequila, Jalisco.
I'm going to have to add that to the list.
Yeah.
That's great. Is it Mexican food?
Mexican food. It's great.
Lovely, lovely. What's the most underrated insurance product, in your opinion?
The umbrella policy. No questions asked.
No questions asked umbrella policy?
Umbrella policy.
Great tip.
Can I expound or no?
Yeah, let's hear it.
So the umbrella policy is a very cheap way to get a lot of liability coverage, and everybody right now is so sue happy. You run into somebody, they want to sue you, and you can get $1 million of liability protection, usually for somewhere around anywhere from $20 to $50 a month. And so you'll never be able to outpay the umbrella policy. And so if you own a pool, if you have rental property, if you have a young teenage driver, I mean, there's so many applications as to why anybody would need an umbrella policy, but giving yourself that extra layer of protection is crucial and so cheap. You should definitely do that.
Awesome. Who has the best insurance coverage in your office? Friendly competition here.
What do you mean? I don't understand the question. Who has the best coverage in my office?
Where can I get the cheapest insurance in Virginia Beach?
Oh man, I don't know. It changes daily. So
Quack quack.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. All right, that was a fun one. One business, book, or podcast that every entrepreneur should check out.
I love Smart Money.
Ooh, Smart Money.
Yeah.
Smart Money podcast.
Yeah.
Or book. Okay.
Yeah, it's from NPR, but it's a good one.
Oh, is that Planet Money?
Planet Money. I'm sorry.
No, you're
Yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
NPR has like 25 shows.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Okay.
No, you're right.
Planet Money
I'm
podcast,
sorry.
NPR.
Yeah.
Lovely. If you could insure any famous landmark in Virginia, what landmark would you pick and why?
It's got to be. I mean, there's got to be something in D.C., right? That's like technically Virginia, but not.
Yeah, you could get some in Nova.
Yeah.
Some historic park or something.
In Nova, yeah. I don't know. A historic landmark in D.C. My history might not be the best, so I don't know.
That's okay.
I don't know what that would be.
Yeah. Favorite activity to unwind after a long, busy day of successfully getting clients' money back from claims?
Yeah, man. I love hanging with my kids. I love going on a bike ride with my kids. I've got a 6-year-old and a 3-year-old, and so they run around now, and they're all about the bike ride. So I got to keep up with them now on the bikes. It used to be that I had to like nudge them along, but now I gotta be the one to
chase after
them.
them.
Yeah. So I love doing that.
What's a business trend you think is going to change the insurance industry as a whole?
AI. I mean, obvious. I think that's already has changed.
In what ways?
Oh man, I mean, it's going to be surprising to me if insurance agents are going to look the same today as they do in 10 years.
Like you just picture like someone like typing in their chat bot, flooding, need to apply my claim, and then it just happens. The money's in the account. Do you foresee it happening that quickly?
Sure. Yeah, and getting a policy is already basically like that. You can go online and do it yourself, and the need for I take that back. I think the need for an agent is still very prevalent.
Sure.
But you can do all of that online, and I think if you type your bio in about who I am, what I do, what my situation is, answer a few questions, and a computer can spit out basically what you think what it should need. Now, whether or not you want to trust it is your prerogative. But I think AI is coming.
Very, very interesting. Blake, last one for you. Best advice you've ever received as a business owner?
I think that the best advice I ever received was from John Fagan, and he told me when I was getting ready to go to Chick-fil-A, I asked him, what do I need to do? And he said, never let them see you sweat, because your business may be blowing up. You may have a million problems happening. You may have pressures coming from every direction. And if you start freaking out, your team's going to freak out and nothing's going to get done.
Yeah.
So if you can maintain your center and keep your center centered, then you'll be in much better shape. So I think that's the best advice that I got, is to just stay calm and never let them see you sweat.
Never let them see you sweat. Love it. Blake, this has been an awesome conversation. Before we go, if folks would like to learn more about you or just get a quote, where can they go?
Yeah, you can just search me on Google. Just Blake Stevens Allstate. I'll pop right up for you. I serve all of Virginia, so don't let the territory scare you. I mean, my office is a bit west, but that's okay. I have a lot of clients in Virginia Beach, Chesapeake, Norfolk, all the surrounding areas, and North Carolina.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, that's a wrap, everyone. Big thanks to Blake Stevens for joining us. And, of course, thank you to our dedicated listeners for checking us out on another episode of Discover Virginia podcast. If you want to get your hands on a free quote from Blake Stevens over at Allstate, just check out the link in the description below. And we'd love to have you get that information and make the best decision for you and your family, because life changes and life happens, and we want to be there with you every step of the way. Until next episode, we'll see you then.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it.